Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Um, I know I've changed the time. I was supposed to do this training yesterday, which is Tuesday. Tuesday, 11 a.m. is when I will be doing any lives. And if there's additional lives, I will let you know ahead of time. But Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern is when I'll be doing these lives. I'll give you tips to navigate the divorce process, or if you are not looking to divorce, but still thinking about it, how you can make your marriage work, whatever it is, whichever stage you are in, I will provide those tips each week. And I would love your feedback too. So before I dive in, I want to very quickly introduce myself. For those of you who have not watched the video on my story or any other videos in the group yet. My name is Geeta Vemparala. I am a divorce and transition coach, and I help women through the divorce process and women who are struggling with the decision, should I stay or go, which is, in my view, is the first toughest uh, action or thing to do. So I help women there, why do they feel stuck? Or do they really want to stay and work on the marriage? Do they feel that they can work on the marriage? And then I also work with women in the post-divorce phase. Um, yes, once you've gone through divorce, it does feel like a huge burden has been lifted off your shoulders. But often we don't know what to do with that freedom and the loneliness. There's so many other things that keep coming up. And then there's the challenge also of adjusting to life after divorce, to co-parenting, both you and your former spouse are adjusting, and the children, if children are involved, are trying to get used to the new life. So it takes some time. So I help women in that phase two. But today, what I wanted to cover is, common mistakes that women make when they decide to take that step towards divorce. And I have made them myself. So, and I will tell you, and I do repeat this often, that this is by pointing out mistakes, it is not a judgment I'm making. Um, I'm not judging anyone here. This is an effort to educate you. From the mistakes I have made and from the right things I have done. What did I do right along the way? And that has helped me. So that is the only reason. I know there's a number of you who are in the considering divorce phase. And even those who are in the midst of divorce, who are going through it, I think these tips will be valuable. I want to do this in two parts, this training. Today, I'll talk about in my view, what the top three mistakes are that we make. And then I'll talk about a few more next Tuesday when I do the training. So that'll be part two. Um, okay. And the reason for doing this in two parts is I want to keep these videos short. I don't want them hour long or even 30 minutes. I don't know. I think I'll need to work on keeping them as short as possible. I'm hoping today's will not go 30 minutes. It might, but I'll do my best to continue to keep them short. With that, let's dive in. And if you have any questions, do feel free to post in the group, or even DM me separately. There is that feature in school. I'm assuming most of you are new. to the school platform. It is almost like a website, so it's easy for you to navigate, easier than Facebook. Okay, with that, the number one thing, and I hear this all the time, and I did this too myself, is when we decide to take that step, which happens after a lot of contemplation. It doesn't happen on a whim, a lot of struggle. Then you decide, I want to go ahead with the divorce. The first thing that comes to mind is, I need to hire an attorney. So, mistake number one is rushing to hire an attorney. And I'll explain a little bit why I call this not, why I say this shouldn't necessarily be the first step. Okay, this should not be the first step. This When we say that, we are already in a high anxiety state. We are in a state of overwhelm. We are not thinking clearly. We say, yeah, I need to hire an attorney. And this is accompanied by a lot of fear. This decision, this action is accompanied by a lot of fear. So we and we make that call, and we think, I will get a good lawyer, and the lawyer will take care of all my issues. Lawyer will take care of my divorce. um, and that's all I need to do, hire a good lawyer. But what this does is, it often leads us to make impulsive decisions, without the clarity that is needed when we decide to go through divorce. And I will tell you, I'll go out on a limb and say, um, actually, this is based on experience and dealing with my clients too. I will say we make this decision emotionally. While I have seen and I have spoken with many men too, not just women, but men and my friends, male friends who have been through divorce, from that I gathered, when men file for divorce, they do a lot of planning. There is emotion involved. I'm not saying they're unemotional, they're not sad. And, I'm absolutely. And again, something else I do want to reiterate, or do reiterate constantly, is that the way I operate, I don't do husband bashing. And this group is not about male bashing, but it's about us women being smart about how we navigate our life. And especially this important challenge, important milestone in our life, divorce, or the decision to divorce. So we women get emotionally wound up, and we work from that state. So we are not necessarily, and I'm generalizing this a little bit. There are some women who've done it right, but I'm generalizing it based on what I have seen as a coach and through my personal experience. Okay, I have operated on emotion many times. So but men do a lot of planning, and they're very meticulous in how, they do a lot of preparation before they even go see the attorney. So we women, and I, through my work, I educate women, and I help women do the necessary preparation before you actually go hire your attorney. That is something I help with too. How do you hire the right attorney? So there is no denying that we need a good attorney who will represent our interests, right? When we decide to divorce, we need a good attorney, because we want them. If it is a conflict, it's a high conflict divorce, we want them to fight for us. We want them to understand. But in order for them to understand, we need to understand what we want, right? Where we are, what we want, and why we want what we want. Okay. So, and the last point that I want to make is many attorneys are trained to take action. They do not actually want to deal with your confusion. So if you have confusions, or if you don't feel confident about your decision, attorneys can't do much there. Their job is, once you decide to go to divorce and you feel ready, their job is to walk you through the legal process. But it is your job. First of all, if you are in a confused state, it's your job to get unconfused, and disentangle whatever is happening in your mind, and then um, do the necessary prep work, and then find the attorney. There may be 10 good attorneys, but one or two may be the right fit for you. It depends on what you want, right? Our temperament, what we want, it depends on a lot. And what is it that you are up against? That is also very important. So, absolutely, bottom line for this first step is we need a good attorney, but do your prep work before you see that attorney. Okay. I think that's what I wanted to say on that first one. Yeah, a word of caution again, if you don't do the preparation that is needed, you could get pulled into a strategy that is not right for you, because you don't know what your financial picture is. You don't know where you stand with your custody. Welcome. And I need to figure out how to mask the names. If you're okay with being on video, that's fine. But I will put these videos for replay. But I will need to figure out how to mask the names. But if I can't, your name will appear on this video, at least for the next Zoom call. I'll figure out. Yes, that's good. I'm glad you did that. Okay. I just finished talking about the first mistake, and you can go back and go back to the replay and listen to it. But the first thing we do when we decide to divorce is we rush to hire an attorney. And I explain why that's not necessarily the right thing to do. Okay, so we will move on to mistake number two, is underestimating the time that it takes to prepare. We assume women, and again, I am generalizing. I'm not saying all women, but I have done it. And I see my clients do this all the time. Of course, once they start working with me, then we correct the mistakes that have been made, the ones that can be corrected. But I see this frequently. That's why I feel this is something worth mentioning in this part one, is underestimating the time that is needed for preparation before you even file. We feel that once we make the decision, oh, we're done. I go find an attorney and then everything else will unfold quickly. The truth is, it doesn't. Sometimes it can be a struggle once you file. Of course, it depends on the opposing party, how cooperative they are. But at least if you have done what is in your control, then it'll be a smoother journey. It is going to be stressful. I never promise to anybody that, oh, you do all the preparation and your journey will be smooth. Please mask your names, because I will be putting this video out. Again, for the next session, I will figure out how a way where your names don't appear and only I appear on the screen. I forgot to do that today. But I am talking about the second mistake, is women don't do the preparation that is needed. We think that we don't need to do any preparation before we file for divorce. All I need to do is go and hire an attorney and everything will happen smoothly. And apologies for repeating because new folks are joining, but you can watch the replay and post your questions in the comments. And if I'm not able to do it now, respond now, then I will definitely one-on-one or in the group, I can respond to your questions. Um, okay. So preparation sometimes it's not weeks, but it could take months. So we need the patience to gather the required information, whatever it is. And every divorce is unique. Every situation is unique. So the steps will need to be tailored to the individual situation, but there are some common things that can be done. So having access, to financial information, to financial documentation, the legal information that you need before, get educated in your rights. And do you have the right support system? All these things. And with child custody, if children are involved, what is it that you want? And emotionally, are you in a place where you can ground yourself to make the right decisions? Because every decision you make in this process has both short-term and long-term implications, not only for you, but your children and your spouse too. Our goal is to make this as low conflict as possible, but I also understand. I have a number of clients where the divorce, there is so much conflict, but we have to figure out how to navigate. And the conflict comes in so many forms, right? It depends on the individual. Is the conflict with respect to child custody? Is it with finances? It varies. It depends on your unique situation. So when we make rushed decisions, we may be overlooking details that are important. And what happens when we overlook important details? Our stress level goes up, and you are in the process now. You feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. So again, divorce is a process. It's not a moment, right? It's a process. So prepare for that process. So you minimize hurdles along the way, and you cannot necessarily envision or know everything. I'm not getting the right word here, but all exceptions or all hurdles that might come along the way, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't be able to predict, but you might have some idea. So there's a lot of strategizing that needs to happen too. There's tactical and strategic work that needs to happen as you prepare. And lastly, for today, the mistake number 3 that I wanted to talk about is ignoring financial realities. When we are, I'm not sure if you can, if you're watching now, if you can relate to this, but I did this. I worked all my life. I was never stay at home, maybe for a couple of years, but I didn't know the paycheck that I brought home. I didn't know how much I brought home. So I said, I don't care for money. I will let my husband manage the finances. So I had no idea about my finances each month, what my paycheck, and it's I don't know what to call it. Now I say, it was foolish on my part. Of course, I was not anticipating divorce, but still, it's not a healthy marriage when you give up so much control. Um, when you are in the know, it is not due to lack of trust. You could have trust, but also stay in the know of your finances. What I find is a lot of women who come to me, they don't have as much of an idea about their finances as their spouse does. And what happens? The person in divorce, the individual who has more knowledge of the family finances, has more power. And generally, that power is abused. So if you have knowledge of your finances, if you don't, then you figure out, do some investigation, and that is part of the preparation. This and number two go kind of hand in hand, um, but finances are a significant. You need to pay the attorney, and if you're looking for any kind of support, outside support, then the attorney, like a coach, I'm a coach and I help women through the process. So you need resources to pay. So how do you do that? So it is that knowledge is important. And then knowing that the money issues will not sort them out themselves out. Oh yeah, when I start going through the process, then I will things will get fixed. No, have a strategy. Even if you don't have money in your hands, there are ways that you can proceed. But it's a great idea. And in my view, it's a necessity to know where you stand, have an idea where you stand. So don't ignore. And then I don't know, I may be just, covering some of next week's here, but saying money is not important to me. I just want out of this marriage, also is not helpful, because that will have long-term consequences, short-term and long-term consequences. If there's money on the table, what is rightfully yours, you should fight for it. How much you fight for it, again, is the individual situation. So, with that, I want to stop here. And again, I want to mention the reason I'm doing this is not to be judgmental, point fingers, but it is to educate you and to bring to your attention what you need before you make that decision to go through a divorce. So if you have any questions, I can spend a couple of minutes. And what I might do is I might edit out those questions, because I don't want to keep my video too long when I post it for the replay.